Wait, that's happened? A blurry photo that made a monster real? History is full of unbelievable true stories, and few are stranger than the moment a single blurry photo convinced the world that a prehistoric monster was living in a Scottish lake. It sounds absurd now, grainy black and white ripples mistaken for a sea serpent. But in November 1933, that image didn't just spark curiosity, it created a legend. The story begins in the misty Scottish Highlands, where Loch Ness stretches for 23 miles, long, deep, and dark as night. For centuries, locals whispered of a creature lurking beneath its surface, an ancient beast that would sometimes rise through the fog. The first written account dates all the way back to the 6th century, when St. Columba supposedly ordered a water monster to spare a man's life. But for most of history, these were just campfire tales, folklore kept alive by fishermen, travelers, and anyone who'd spent too much time near cold water and whiskey. That changed in the early 1930s, when technology and timing collided perfectly with myth. Britain was in the middle of the Great Depression, and newspapers were desperate for stories that could distract people from economic despair. When a local couple claimed to have seen a huge creature rolling and plunging in the loch, editors smelled opportunity. The Inverness Courier ran the story under the sensational headline, "Strange Spectacle on Loch Ness." Within days, reporters, photographers, and curiosity seekers flooded the region. The monster now had a modern stage, and the media was ready to make it a star. Then came November 12, 1933, the day the legend went global. A motorist named Hugh Gray was out for a Sunday walk along the loch with his dog when, according to him, something enormous broke the surface of the water. He fumbled with his camera, one of those boxy early models that took forever to focus, and managed to snap a single frame before the creature vanished. When the film was developed, what emerged was a blurred, ghostly shape rising from the waves. It looked like something. A long neck, a head, ripples, a swimming dog. Nobody could quite tell, but that didn't matter. The image was mysterious enough to ignite the imagination. Newspapers published it instantly, printing it under headlines like, "Is this the Loch Ness Monster?" The timing couldn't have been better, or worse. The public, weary from depression and war scares, was eager for a mystery that wasn't political or tragic. A monster in a Scottish lake. Perfect. By the end of that week, Loch Ness had become the most famous body of water on Earth. The photo, blurry, indistinct, almost laughable by today's standards, gave credibility to an old myth through the power of modern media. It invited scientists, skeptics, and adventurers to weigh in. Some claimed the creature was a surviving plesiosaur from the age of dinosaurs. Others said it was a giant eel, a wave pattern, or even a trick of light. The scientific community largely dismissed it, but that didn't stop thousands from flocking to the Highlands with binoculars, boats, and dreams of fame. Loch Ness became the world's first viral mystery. The British tabloids, of course, doubled down. They hired monster hunters. They printed maps showing possible sighting zones. They even offered cash rewards for anyone who could capture the beast. The tourism boom was immediate. Local hotels filled up, souvenir sellers thrived, and the sleepy village of Drum na Drochit turned into a global curiosity. For better or worse, the blurry photograph had transformed folklore into industry. Years later, skeptics analyzed Hugh Gray's photo and proposed far less exciting explanations. Some said it was just his Labrador retriever swimming with a stick in its mouth. Others argued the image showed nothing more than waves distorted by motion blur. And yet, even as technology advanced and clearer photos emerged, most of which turned out to be hoaxes, belief in Nessie refused to die. Why? Because the Loch Ness Monster wasn't really about proof. It was about wonder. That photograph arrived at a time when people needed to believe there were still mysteries left in the world, that not everything could be measured, mapped, or explained. It was a reminder that even in the age of modern science, we still crave a little magic. In the decades that followed, sonar sweeps, underwater cameras, and even satellite imagery failed to find any giant creature lurking in the loch. The 1933 photo remains grainy, debated, and probably misinterpreted, but its cultural impact is undeniable. It inspired documentaries, movies, and a tourism industry that still thrives nearly a century later. So, what began as a Sunday stroll by the water ended up creating one of the most enduring legends in modern history, a monster that likely never existed, but changed the world anyway. Because sometimes all it takes to turn folklore into fact is one blurry photo. If you enjoyed this strange piece of history, give it a like and don't forget to subscribe for more.